because we found, we went, when I first became athletic director, going through the code, there's some things in there that I just didn't understand and wanted clarification on. And Mr. Steinmetz and I had some good conversations. And we also had the opportunity to, Mr. Steinmetz, on a rotating basis, every principal in the Heart of North takes a 2-year run at being president of the Heart of North. So this past year, and this coming school year, Mr. Steinmetz is the president of the Heart of North Conference. And as athletic director, I act as a liaison between the principals and the activities directors or athletic directors of all the schools in the conference. So we had really good access to what other schools do and why they do those things. So we were able to take in information from all those schools, get our hands on their codes, and not just the Heart of North. We went around to the schools in the area and looked at the way their codes are laid out. And we found that we were very inconsistent in some ways with what other schools do. Okay? So, I think it just makes sense. When we think about things, and you have a chance to hear why, I think you'll understand where we're coming from. Okay, so this is a sanction. Attendance at a gathering where illegal consumption of drugs and or alcohol takes place. That doesn't mean your grandparents' 40th wedding anniversary. If there's beer, that's not an illegal gathering. Right? I think we all know what we're talking about in terms of an illegal gathering. So your attendance and if you'll take a look at the code, it starts on page 11. I'm not going to read from the code too much, but I would like to go through this and make sure everybody understands. Starting on page 11. Actually, let's move right to page 12, where it talks about violations. Number 1 says it shall be considered a violation of the athletic code relative to alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs when a student athlete A, is present at a party or gathering where alcohol and or drugs are being illegally consumed or dispensed, and the student athlete does not leave immediately. Okay, so, gray, right? That's very gray. Leave immediately. What does that mean? And I think this is where, you're going to have to trust us as administration to be human and to have good conversations with kids. I will tell you, as young people, you're going to know very early on when you enter into a place whether or not there's stuff going on that shouldn't be going on. Okay? So you find yourself in that situation, what are you going to do? If it means something to you that you signed your name tonight and said you were going to not be around those things, then it's real easy. You take your cell phone out. If you don't have a cell phone, you borrow somebody's, and you call somebody. Okay? Then you have a record of it. Okay? See where I'm going? So then when word gets out that you were there, and I bring you in and I'm going to talk to you about it and find out what's going on, you can say, hey, Mr. Madsen, look, I got there at like 8 o'clock, 8:10, I'm trying to get out of there. To me, you did the right thing. Okay? That doesn't mean you sit down and you hang out for a couple hours, and then you decide, okay, I want to get a ride home, I need a ride out of here. Okay? So there is some gray, and we understand that, but the world's not black and white. There isn't always black and white. And we're going to have conversations with you, and we're going to figure out what really happened to the best of our ability and make a decision from there. I want to back up just along those lines. If you back up to page 11, under inappropriate behavior, I think it's important. I hate to read to you, but since this is new for everybody, and some of you have kids that went through before, and if you have sons or daughters who are currently sophomores, juniors, or seniors in our building, they are going to you'll have another code that's similar to the one that you're going to sign right now. That's a revision of the previous code. And it's just going to be, I understand what the new code says, and we'll abide by the new code. Okay? So here we go. Behaviors that are contrary to healthy involvement. I did all that. Let's go to that second sentence. It says, all violations will be enforceable for the student athlete's career on a year-round basis. Okay? I'm going to tell you something. So I was at Chippewa Falls High School for 10 years. In Chippewa Falls High School's code, the code is only enforceable during the school year, which to me is asinine. It's just, I don't understand that. So it basically gives kids, you get the summer off. Go live her up, man. And I feel like that's contradictory to what we're trying to do as educators. So, and I would say that is, what they're doing down there that's not consistent with what other schools do. Anyway, So that's the first thing, it's year-round. Any information or evidence considered to be relevant, valid, and accurate by any person or persons reviewing a particular alleged violation shall be considered. Parties who provide information relative to violations will be asked to provide specific names, dates, times, and infractions, but may remain anonymous to the public. If hearsay evidence cannot be substantiated on the basis of subsequent investigation, it will be treated as rumor. So simply what that means is we hear stuff, okay? It's just social media, guys, be smart, right? It's stuff that goes out there. Understand it's not just for your buddies. So we hear things. I have a conversation with you about that. From somebody tells me, hey, Mr. Madsen, this so-and-so did this. I'll talk to him a little bit. If I feel like it's valid, a valid concern, I'll bring him in, have a conversation, and ask, were there other people there? Is there anybody else there? And talk to all these kids about this stuff. That's what this means. And so we get a pretty good sense early on in those conversations whether or not it's worth dealing with, or if it's maybe an axe to grind or something like that. We take that into consideration, of course, and we make a decision. Okay? We're not, I hope you understand, we're not out, I'm not going to go around driving around town on Friday and Saturday night trying to find trouble. But we feel like we're sending a mixed message to you with the old code. That we said we didn't have anything in the code that prohibited you from going to illegal parties. It didn't say, hey, go to parties. It's awesome. But it didn't, there was no penalty for it. There was no expectation that you wouldn't. And we feel like we were putting you in a difficult situation a lot of times. Okay, so that is, that's one big change, okay, with violations. Hopefully this still works. I read through it. Okay, I'm going to have to do the rest of that here. Okay. It's coming out of the activities budget, I'm sure. Okay, go ahead and click it again, please, Mr. Steinmetz. Okay, so, we're going the wrong way here. So there's another new piece. So here we had this kind of contradiction where we said, we don't really care if you go or not, basically. You get one sanction, one penalty, and you get 25%. Okay? And then the second time you're done. That's what our code was. And as educators, I started this whole thing by saying how important I think and how valuable I think athletics can be in terms of your whole child education. And then we're taking that away from you right away after you make another mistake. Now, we would hope that you would never get to that point. But if you do, you get to a second infraction, and it's 50%. Which again, in taking a look at what most districts do, this is consistent. Okay, and we think it's more fair. Now, you may think, oh, hey, 50% of a season is a long time. And it's not that you just get to show up halfway through and start competing. I tell you, if you were basketball, 11 games, depending on when that happens, that's a lot of weeks of practice. And then with me, that doesn't mean you're going to start playing on that 12th game. You got to earn that back slowly, probably. So I feel like it's much more fair. And then any subsequent infraction would be a calendar year. Okay, the sanctions for category 2 and 4 are the same. Okay, categories 2 and 4 are treated the same in terms of sanctions. Be a period of 15 scheduled school days and nights. Okay, and then calendar year. And then category 3, these would be the, we call them electables, I suppose. And it's removal from that activity for the remainder of the academic year. One other piece here that's new, a self-referral. So let's say that you mess up, and you find yourself in a place you shouldn't be, and you don't make an attempt to get out of there immediately. You sleep on it over the weekend, you decide, I messed up, my conscience is getting to me, I need to do something about it. You come in and you talk to Mr. Steinmetz or myself about that, and you self-refer. What we do is we reduce your suspension by 25%. So, for instance, I think, Mr. Steinmetz, was it one event previously? Was that the reduction? Kind of across the board, if you came in and self-referred, it was a one contest we would delete, we'd take away, one contest. And I just didn't feel like, again, that if you're baseball, you have 26 events, right, and we take away a quarter of your year, we're at 7 because we round up, and we're only going to take 1 away. That's not much of an incentive to do the right thing. So we'll reduce that. If it was 7, we'll reduce that by a quarter, and we're down to, it's a little bit more significant. You'd have a 5 game instead of you get an extra game back, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, we're almost done. These are the start dates coming up this week, right? Football equipment handout tomorrow. I understand freshmen are supposed to be here at 7:25. That sound right? Yeah? Okay. And start practice on Tuesday. Again, you can't practice until all this stuff is taken care of. All this paperwork needs to be taken care of before you can be on the practice field. So please, because I'll come out and get you. Okay, I hate to do that. I kind of like the Grim Reaper. Come out there if you're practicing, I have to come out and bring you back and say, hey, we don't have this in, I can't let you participate. Okay, so please take care of that stuff. Tennis starts next Tuesday. And by the way, do we have any tennis players yet? Nobody? There's some of you, if you're not doing it in the fall, once you see our new tennis courts, you're going to want to play tennis. They're awesome. They did a great job out here. They look fantastic. We lost 3 small freshmen last year into the big cracks that were in the court, so we're kind of they forced our hand a little bit. There's some big cracks out there that make us very uncomfortable. But it looks great now, so please participate in tennis. Or cross country and volleyball start on the 17th. Again, so everything's the same. You guys need to have that stuff in before you can participate. Last slide is my contact info. So my email address, my extension. Do you want to click that real quick? So this is the conference website. You can go here. If you just Googled Heart of North, you'd go here. And you can look at all the schools in the conference. You can go by sport. You can check that out. But that's the conference website. And then if you go back to, getting back to my presentation, Mr. Stevens. Go ahead and click. You go to our school to see just bloomers. Most of you are probably familiar with this. It's a good way to keep up with what's going on. We try to be up to date on this, as up to date as we can. You can look at different sports schedules down the right side. And then our kind of weekly schedule on the left. Our rosters and whatnot, there's lots of good information there. Okay, go back to that presentation, thank you. I think I've got 2 things left. Okay, so if you're a Twitter person, follow Bloomer Sports, lots of good info. I'm trying to, as we get started, took a little break. If you're involved in summer workouts, and by the way, if you were involved, you know how great that was. If you come to the summer workout stuff, we had, I would say consistently, if you took an average number, 75 people was about the average, 70 or 75, boys and girls working together, really encouraging each other, building a lot of camaraderie, sense of community within our schools, lots of kids pulling for each other. We brought Trevor Morning in and hired him to run it. It was fantastic. Really great. The reason I thought about that is I was tweeting pictures of that kind of stuff all the time. And I need to give him credit. He coined Hawk Up, hashtag Hawk Up. That's what I'm going to use as our kind of hashtag this year for Bloomer Sports. Just kind of means, I think, just have some mental toughness and fight through it, right? So, anyway, I'm all done, I think. Did that in just about 20 minutes. So, was it more than that? I can't remember when I started. It was at 7:30. Hey, if you have questions, please ask. Other than that, thank you for coming and bearing with us on a hot night.
Thank you, Mr. Matson. Also, I would also like to say thank you. I know that that's a lot of information thrown at you in the last hour and change. But it really does make sense for us to do kind of both portions of the meeting since we would have the same audience.